In episode 144 of the Unrivaled Tang Sect, Tang Wutong joined forces with Huo Yuhao to battle Yan Shaozhe. Xiao Wu also appeared, and Huo Yuhao's soul entered the divine realm, where he received a god's inheritance. After Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong finally recognized each other, Shrek Academy moved on to Huo Yuhao's graduation assessment. There were 3 tasks in total. The first was to defeat Yan Shaozhe, the dean of the martial soul department and a level 97 Super Douluo within 3 years. The second was to work together with Xuan Ziwen of the Tang Sect to forge 2 Class 9 stationary soul cannon shells for the academy. The third was even more outrageous. It would be determined according to the future situation on the continent. The moment Huo Yuhao heard this, he panicked. Turned out that after he displayed the strength of an 8-ring soul Douluo at the matchmaking event, the academy had revised his assessment overnight. An ordinary graduation test was no longer enough for someone like him. Regret hit him so hard his insides twisted. If he had known this would happen, he never would have shown off like that the day before. With a bitter face, he pleaded with the 2 deans, Yan Shaozhe and Xian Liner, saying the assessment was far too difficult and impossible to complete. Yan Shaozhe, however, only smiled pleasantly and relaxed the condition a little, saying Huo Yuhao could fight together with Tang Wutong. The 2 of them joined hands and managed to defeat him. It would count as passing. Xian Liner also made a concession, allowing Xuan Ziwen to assist him in forging the cannon shells. Elder Xian was even more generous. He declared that during the 3-year assessment period, Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong would be allowed to stay together for the time being. But if they failed to pass within the deadline, then the academy would force the lovers apart. Huo Yuhao was utterly speechless. After all the years of care and cultivation the academy had given him, he could not bring himself to argue. Tang Wutong, on the other hand, was much more open-hearted. Holding Huo Yuhao's hand, she gently encouraged him, saying pressure was not necessarily a bad thing. He was not the only one working hard, she would be there with him. Those words worked better than any miraculous medicine. Huo Yuhao took a deep breath and solemnly accepted the assessment. Elder Xian then revealed another piece of news. For the time being, the Sun-Moon Empire had quieted down. The Empress, known as the Sun-Moon Valkyrie, was pregnant, so there would be no major moves from that side in the near future. The moment Huo Yuhao heard this, his heart trembled violently. He knew very well who that Empress was. Back at the Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Academy, Juzi had been the first woman who stirred his heart. Later, because of their identities and their opposing positions, they had drifted farther and farther apart, yet that complicated emotion had always remained buried deep inside him. Now, hearing that she was carrying Su Tianron's child, he could not stop a trace of indescribable bitterness from rising within him. What he did not know was that Juzi's child was actually his. Just as Huo Yuhao was about to leave to continue his training, Elder Xian stopped him again. Since everyone was gathered already, he suggested that Huo Yuhao and Yan Shaozhe might as well have a sparring match first. Tang Wutong sensed the change in Huo Yuhao's emotions. She gave him a small nod and her eyes turned sharp. Through the power of Haodong, her absolute determination to win flowed straight into him. Huo Yuhao was infected by it at once. Hand in hand, the 2 began to merge their soul power. On the practice field, the protective barrier rose. The 2 of them stood opposite Yan Shaozhe, their auras rising without end, their fierce fighting spirit pressing down toward him. A faint golden glow spread from Yan Shaozhe's body. The surrounding air rippled like water, making it impossible for the pair to lock onto his true position. Then came the cry of a phoenix. Yan Shaozhe's aura erupted all at once and collided head-on with the fighting intent of the 2 youths. Violent currents burst across the entire arena. A pale golden radiance glimmered over Huo Yuhao's body, while Tang Wutong shone with blue light. 2 colors merged and steadily broke apart the pressure Yan Shaozhe was releasing. Outside the field, the watching elders nodded in approval. Once the 2 had completed their martial soul fusion, they had fully reached the level of titled Douluo combat strength. Huo Yuhao moved first. The eye of destiny opened on his forehead, flashing with rose-gold brilliance. His spiritual interference domains spread out in an instant, and his spiritual detection blanketed the field like a vast net, locking onto Yan Shaozhe's position. The soul ring of his spirit eye's martial soul lit up, and with a flash from his fourth ring, spiritual confusion descended upon Yan Shaozhe. Yan Shaozhe's body stiffened slightly. For a fleeting moment, confusion appeared in his gaze. Huo Yuhao seized the opening. From the eye of destiny shot a dazzling rose-gold beam, soul shock. Yet to his surprise, although Yan Shaozhe had been affected by spiritual confusion, he still managed to take half a step forward at the critical moment. His whole body turned golden, and behind him unfurled a pair of golden phoenix wings, as if he had merged into heaven and earth themselves. Huo Yuhao's soul shock landed on him as though striking empty air. His power failed to truly take effect. This was Yan Shaozhe's spiritual realm, something similar to Muin's sovereign over the world, but fused with his own understanding. The very instant Huo Yuhao launched soul shock, Tang Wutong also made her move. The wings of the radiant goddess butterfly spread wide, and she raised both hands upward. A golden six-pointed star appeared with perfect accuracy beneath Yan Shaozhe's feet. She had calculated that even if Yan Shaozhe could block soul shock, he would still be affected enough to lose the chance to evade. And as expected, although Yan Shaozhe blocked the soul shock, he failed to avoid the six-pointed formation. Intense golden light swallowed him whole. That moment, Huo Yuhao's sixth soul ring also lit up. The eye of destiny on his forehead shifted in an instant from rose gold to a stark black and white dual color. That sharply divided gaze was enough to make Elder Xian and the others outside the arena shudder involuntarily. A powerful sense of danger surged up in every one of them. Only Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong could see that black and white radiance clearly. When it fell upon Yan Shaozhe, the Super Douluo felt a sudden chill race through his entire body. The hairs on his back stood on end, and an icy coldness spread through him in an instant. He had no idea what sort of power this was. Produced no obvious attack effect, yet it filled him with overwhelming danger. Tang Wutong immediately followed up by activating her second soul ring. Golden specks on the wings behind her released clusters of golden spheres that shot toward Yan Shaozhe. Yan Shaozhe had just stepped out of the six-pointed formation, his body wrapped in blazing golden flames. With a sweep of his right hand, a layer of golden light brushed outward, dispersing the butterfly goddess light completely. But the sense of danger still lingered. He did not dare relax in the slightest. Taking another step forward, he threw a punch straight at Huo Yuhao. Punch looked simple, yet as it blasted forward, the very space of the entire arena seemed to cave inward. Huo Yuhao felt immense restraining force pressing in from all directions, as if a towering mountain had come crashing into him. This was not a soul skill, but a self-created technique born from the perfect unity of Yan Shaozhe's essence, energy, and spirit. Instinctively, Huo Yuhao wanted to counter with the three Haodong skills. But just as he tried to focus his mind, his entire body froze. The three Haodong skills required intense longing to activate. But now Tang Wutong was right here beside him. How could he possibly feel longing any longer? This soul skill, which had once been created for the sake of searching for Donger, had now become useless the moment he found his beloved again. In that split second of hesitation, Yan Shaozhe's attack had already arrived. 'Cause Tang Wutong and Huo Yuhao were linked through martial soul fusion, she sensed his abnormality at once. Without the slightest hesitation, she stepped forward and shielded him with her body. Raising her right hand, she activated her eighth soul ring. Her entire figure blazed with brilliant golden light, and countless blue butterflies danced around her. A massive blue-gold pillar of light slammed forward to meet Yan Shaozhe's punch head-on. The explosive collision made the whole practice field tremble. The elders watching the battle had to pour in even more strength to maintain the barrier. Yan Shaozhe's figure was forced into view. Tang Wutong, however, was knocked backward and fell straight into Huo Yuhao's arms. The absolute difference in power drained all color from her beautiful face. Her soul power surged chaotically within her body, and both of them felt their blood and energy roil violently. A look of astonishment appeared in Yan Shaozhe's eyes. He realized that his own soul power was trembling without end, and controlling it now required more effort than before. He recognized the terrifying nature of Tang Wutong's soul skill. High temperature, light, and violent shock had been fused together perfectly. Both sides possessed equal soul power. Its destructive force would be unimaginably terrifying. The only reason he had blocked it so easily was because his own light phoenix martial soul also possessed attributes of light and high temperature, giving him powerful resistance. Huo Yuhao held Tang Wutong tightly, his heart aching. Furious at his own mistake for making his beloved bear that blow in his place, he took a deep breath. One arm held her firmly while the other slowly rose. In an instant, the 7 soul rings on his body shifted into 8. A violent blizzard swept across the entire practice field, and a terrifying low temperature manifested in a flash. Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong vanished into the storm. This was the fusion of Emperor's Chill and Everfreeze domain from the Snow Empress's 3 absolutes, creating the Snow Dance Ultimate Ice domain. Through absorbing the 10,000-year ice marrow, the low temperature of Huo Yuhao's ultimate ice had grown even more frightening, dropping beyond -200 degrees. In the blink of an eye, it spread through the entire arena. Even someone with Yan Shaozhe's cultivation could not help but shiver. The advantage of an ultimate martial soul became more and more obvious as one's cultivation increased, and Huo Yuhao's ultimate ice happened to perfectly restrain Yan Shaozhe's light flames. Yan Shaozhe's expression turned grave. The strike from earlier still left him with a lingering sense of danger. If this continued, even if he could suppress them completely, there was always the risk of stumbling into disaster. He could not truly injure them. Without resorting to killing moves, if these 2 youngsters continued to fight with everything they had, he himself might very well get hurt. Elder Xian also sensed that danger. He said that from the moment Huo Yuhao broke through to 8 rings, he had already stepped onto an entirely different level. What he needed now was simply more time to accumulate strength. It was in the middle of this battle that Xiao Wu suddenly appeared, asking Tang San to help Xiao Qi. Xiao Qi was Tang Wutong's childhood nickname. This point Tang Wutong was still in her younger days, living together with Tang San and Xiao Wu in the Divine Realm. This should have been a fragment of the past that surfaced from the chaos in Tang Wutong's spiritual sea after she regained her memories. After the battle ended, Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong went straight back to the Sea God Pavilion. Through that sparring match, Huo Yuhao had gained new insight, and he needed to digest it immediately. The fact that the 3 Haodong skills could no longer be used had a major impact on him. He would have to completely readjust his fighting style. Tang Wutong had also gained some understanding. Once they returned to their room, the 2 sat cross-legged on the bed, their 4 palms pressed together as they circulated the power of Haodong and cultivated side by side. This was their first cultivation session since completing their martial soul fusion. Power of Haodong was vast and rich. Through one full cycle, Huo Yuhao could already feel his soul power improving. 10,000-year ice marrow within his body was also on the verge of being fully refined. Time passed little by little. Huo Yuhao became completely immersed in his realization. Then suddenly his spirit jolted. Felt as though his spiritual power had left his body. He had experienced this sensation before, but those times had all been when he had consciously released his spiritual power. The stage of tangible spiritual power, it was not strange for one's spirit to accompany the soul outside the body. But this time seemed different. When he carefully sensed it, he was shocked to discover that what had left his body was not merely spiritual power, but his pure soul itself. A human soul was extremely fragile. Once separated from the body, it should gradually dissipate. Yet when Huo Yuhao discovered that his soul had left his body, he was stunned to see a faint white glow enveloping it. Under the protection of that soft white radiance, his soul remained perfectly stable, showing no sign of dispersing. Floating in the air, he looked down and saw himself and Tang Wutong still sitting there in cultivation, palms pressed together. Their bodies were wrapped in a gentle white glow. Even from above, he could clearly sense the feeling of soul power, spiritual power, and their mutual emotions all being elevated together. What was going on? Why had his soul left his body on its own? Huo Yuhao tried to calm himself and return to his body, only to realize he could not do it at all. The next instant, some mysterious force seemed to appear from the unseen, seizing his soul and yanking it out of the sea god pavilion in a flash. Passed through the treehouse within the golden tree and rose into the sky. Sunlight poured over the entirety of Shrek Academy. But terror began to creep into Huo Yuhao's heart. This was the first time he had ever encountered such a bizarre situation. He had no idea what would happen next. His soul had left his body and was still being pulled higher and higher into the sky. It was a miserable feeling. He could feel himself getting farther and farther from his physical body. Though the connection remained, he had no way to control his soul's ascent. Why was this happening? He could not find an answer. An intense panic began to spread through his heart. He had only just found Tang Wutong again, and now his soul was leaving his body in this strange and terrifying way. What exactly was happening? He did not want to leave. He did not want to leave Wutong. He still wanted to protect her. He still wanted to love her. That fierce panic caused his soul to erupt with violent emotional fluctuations as he desperately tried to break free. Then, all at once, a soft aura wrapped around his soul. This aura was extremely strange, and within it seemed to be a vast and pure emotional force. The moment it appeared, Huo Yuhao felt an indescribable comfort spread through his soul, as if it had been immersed in a warm spring. The sensation soaked into every part of him, so soothing that he almost wanted to moan aloud. All the fear, panic, and other negative emotions inside him were swept away in an instant, replaced by comfort, trust, and calm. Huo Yuhao was far too intelligent not to realize the truth by now. The aura, filled with comforting emotion, had nourished his soul, and he immediately understood that his soul leaving his body had absolutely nothing to do with his cultivation. Some external force had forcefully drawn his soul out from within him. At this point, all the negative emotions in his soul had already been completely washed away. What remained was pure shock. What kind of power could forcibly draw out his soul like this? His spiritual power had already reached the level of tangible manifestation. He even possessed the power of destiny's judgment, and every day he could resist 3 spiritual attacks. Back then, even the terrifying assault of the evil-eye tyrant ruler had failed to kill him. Yet against this force that had extracted his soul, he had not even been given a chance to resist. How powerful would an opponent have to be to do such a thing? Although Huo Yuhao had no clear idea why this was happening, he vaguely sensed that anyone capable of this had to be a supreme being, and one who bore him no ill intent. Otherwise, there would have been no need to calm and cleanse his negative emotions. Only then did he realize that this power could completely ignore his tangible spiritual force, the protection of his destiny skull, and every defense he possessed. Far surpassed Long Xiao Yi Shishui and even the beast god Di Tian. Just then, a gentle voice interrupted his thoughts. Through a dizzying turn of heaven and earth, Huo Yuhao's soul arrived in the divine realm. There, he met Rong Nianbing, the god of emotions. And Rong Nianbing passed his god's inheritance on to Huo Yuhao.